I'm Casey Townsend. Not every house is just a house. You can see birthdays in the walls. You can see those Sunday dinners in the kitchen. You can even see laughter in the walls too. That's why I'm into heirs property, to help people to pass on real property and their real legacy. I like to slow down the conversation a little bit and listen to what's going on so the family members can make those tough decisions and navigate those tough conversations. So if you're ever interested in working with a realtor to pass on real property and generational wealth, please contact me. Casey Townsend is your realtor. My cell phone number is 513-704-5803.
We're going to move to Shelbyville. And I looked at him and I said, how about you come to Frankfort? And he laughed so hard and said, why the F would I come to Frankfort?
This is Casey Townsend here, and I'm with Jason DeLon. Been excited about interviewing you and talking about Frankfort and what that looks like and the economic development. And I know we've toured downtown several times in Frankfort, and you're always thinking about opportunities about how people can connect with Frankfort and bring new industries here and really build up Frankfort. And so I'm excited to have you today, and just wanted to interview you and get your perspective. And so let's dive into it, man.
Okay, thanks for having me, Casey.
Yes. What's a moment when you felt most proud of Frankfort's growth and why?
I would say that moment is almost every day. Strangely enough, every time I go downtown, I've been watching, I call it the little engine that could, slowly making itself up the hill. And I think we're really close to the crest. But every time I go downtown and I see all the people walking around and all the smiles on people's faces and people with ice cream from Hoggies and people walking to the bars and laughing and having a good time, and I see what I call the bourbon bros, a phalanx of 6 to 12 guys walking around, bourbon. It just makes me so happy. It makes me so proud for Frankfort, because when I started working probably 12 years ago in the community and sort of with different partners and stuff, there was so much negativity that anybody would want to come to Frankfort outside of like state-related activities. I had so many people look at me when I told them that Frankfort could be a mini Asheville, North Carolina, and they looked at me and go, no way, nobody wants to come here. Why would they want to come here? And then I start listing the attributes. We're a river community. We're almost one of the only ones with a river cutting through our downtown in all of Kentucky. We've got the state capitol here. We're centrally located, all this stuff. We've got Buffalo Trace. Now we got Castle and Key. And then you start listing this stuff off and people go, oh, wow. Because in Frankfort, people who live here have a hard time seeing Frankfort from how other people visiting Frankfort. And when I bring friends to town and bring family into town and I take them out on the night, and they're blown away by the cooperage and by all the new developments that have gone in and the delegate. They just can't believe this is Frankfort, And in my mind, you can now have an experience downtown that rivals something you would do one night in Nulu, up in Louisville. But you can do it here. It's all walkable. And unlike Louisville and Lexington, where you would go to a community and you have a drink there and then you drive across town and have dinner and then drive across town, in Frankfort, you can just park your car, walk around, and have amazing experiences.
This is true. This is true.
It's awesome. So every day, man, it just gets better and better.
I think about sometimes when my wife, Natalie, when we take the kids downtown for some of the festivals, it feels more intimate, like for your family and taking them there to experience that. And it's not too big. Yeah. It's not too big to the point where you're like, man, I just don't want to deal with that crowd.
Totally.
You can, park your car pretty easily and just take them in front of the old Capitol and kick around the soccer ball some and just enjoy the festivities, man. That's one thing I've been able to soak in since I moved to Frankfort and never experienced it. I've lived in over 17 different states, a lot of different cities, but haven't had the element that Frankfort provides, man.
Totally, man. Well, and I've had some really unique conversations and kind of late nights with people from Louisville, from Cincinnati, from California, Colorado, friends and family, and people who I went to high school with who left Frankfort, moved somewhere, went for college, built a family, and then they come back for some reason and they are completely floored by
Mm-hmm.
what Frankfurt is. But the one thing that I have people say all the time, and really what I think people in Frankfurt have a hard time seeing, is our sense of community. I bring in people from Louisville and we hang out downtown and they start seeing me saying, oh, hey, hi, as people are walking by. And they're like, do you know everybody? And I'm like, well, I'm just a downtowner. We kind of know this is how it is. And they just look at me and they go, we have nothing like this in
Right.
Louisville. We have nothing like this in Lexington. And the interesting thing that's happening from a development point of view is just recently Frankfurt became a bedroom community for both Lexington and Louisville. So we're starting to have people who are literally commuting the other direction to Lexington, Louisville every day and wanting to live in Frankfurt. And that to me is Frankfurt's one of their biggest opportunities we have right now and our biggest challenges, because I'm going to just throw some numbers around, but they're kind of rough. I think a few years ago we had a study done of all the counties and the housing stock that is required to bring it up to market parity. And Frankfurt, I think it was 4,500 units below what we need to be able to provide for everyone who wants to live in Frankfurt. And that was a few years ago, before we became like Lexington's bedroom community, so before we became Louisville's bedroom community, and before really the bourbon stuff blew up and we started having Airbnbs, taking over some private residence and taking over some long-term apartments. So that number has now just grown exponentially. And the problem is we're having a lot of trouble getting some of these developments going and moving, especially in the downtown core. There's opportunities for sure. We just have a lot of challenges kind of getting everything aligned. We have the mayor, we have an amazing city commissioner, we have an amazing city manager. They are doing the work. It just takes time to sort of get that momentum going and that boulder kind of rolling down the hill. But I brought in a ton of investors, probably 20, 30 investors from Louisville, Lexington, Cincinnati, further afield than that over the last 10 years working with my brother, because he lives in Louisville and knows a lot of these people. And every time they're just like, why do I want to go look at Frankfurt? And I'm talking to them on the phone and I'm like, hey, just come down. And they're like, what is there really to see in Frankfurt? And I'm like, well, what do you think of Frankfurt? And it's a scary question to ask, especially 10 years ago when I started asking that question. And they would say, a place to get gas on the way to Lexington? A place to grab a bite to eat at the interstate? So whenever I bring these people to town and I bring them downtown, I start walking them around. I have a little nickel tour I give people for about an hour. I walk them around, I kind of wave my arms around. I say, well, this is what Frankfurt looked like 5 years ago. This is what it looks like now. And here's what it's going to look like in 5 more years. People are completely floored. They're just like, I had no clue Frankfurt was so hip, so cool, had so much going on, so many beautiful buildings, because usually they may have only come to Frankfurt once in their life, and that was when they were in 7th grade with a school trip to the capital.
True.
And as a 7th grader, they're not looking around thinking, ooh, where could I build some buildings or what can I renovate? They're just taking it all in, But bringing them back as adults really blows their mind. And what I have been trying to foster with these investors in Kentucky is this idea of pride for Frankfurt from the larger state.
Mm-hmm.
Too often, you go to Louisville and Lexington, people kind of disparage Frankfurt a little bit. That's where the politics happen or blah, blah, blah. But now when I bring people to Frankfurt, I'm helping them see Frankfurt is our state capital and we should be really proud of it. And we should do what we can with money and support and enthusiasm to really make Frankfurt grow.
No, I agree. I know for me, when I first moved to Kentucky in 2020, and my wife and I was like, you know what? Georgetown was just like our temporary home, and we were really looking at buying a house somewhere. And when we rode through Frankfurt or to Frankfurt, for one, I didn't realize that Frankfurt has a HBCU, Kentucky State University. And I was like, let's go check it out. And so as we're riding through, it gave me the feel of Asheville, as you mentioned earlier. It really did, especially moving from North Carolina and seeing those elements of Frankfurt where you have the hills and the mountains and the different terrain and the Cove Springs, for instance. Just seeing like those views and coming down that big hill, 127, going down 127 and just seeing that all those lights below light up from the homes is it's an amazing view.
Yeah, man.
Amazing lens.
And it's a benefit and a strength. It's a benefit and a challenge once again that we have a beautiful bowl, a river bowl in our community. So you have this sort of feeling of a 1 mile walkable community, which is very much like a medieval city in Europe or something back in the 1400s and stuff. So we have that very walkable feel, but at the same time it constrains growth too, which
Right.
is a good thing and also a bad thing when you're trying to like grow to meet demand for people who want to live downtown. And right now I've heard so many people say, "Oh, I want to live downtown, but I can't find anything."
Right.
It's a wild experience.
And see, for my wife, she's more into historical homes. Like those, those late Victorian homes to the 1930s types of homes.
Yeah.
And downtown has more of that element than any other side of town.
Totally.
We live in West Frankfort, which is more like a multi-use type of neighborhood where we live in the meadows. But you don't really get the historical feel like downtown. The different trim on the buildings and just the different architecture. You just don't get that piece. And I feel when a lot of tourists come here, they soak that feeling in.
Totally.
Just the weather with the wind blowing in their face. It's like, man, you just can't beat it. But if you could fast forward 5 years, what new life do you envision for downtown Frankfort?
Well, I think I kind of buried the lead on that one already because, the vision I've been trying to sell is that Frankfort can be a mini Asheville, North Carolina. I think if I remember correctly, Nashville is about 120,000 people. So with 20,000 people-ish in the Frankfort proper, we're, 1/6 the size. So we don't need 30 restaurants. We
Right.
just need 5 really good ones, right, to be 1/6 of it. We don't need 35 breweries. We just need 5. And we've already got 3 or 4, So I think we're well on our way. I would say the pieces that we're missing to achieve that vision right now is we've got a couple of key buildings that are still kind of held up in various states or people who bought them back in the day and are, for whatever reason, because of capital gains or whatever, they're still kind of sitting on these buildings. And you can see all the buildings around them being renovated, and then you can sort of just see these derelict buildings sitting. And if we could activate some of those buildings, there's 5 or 6 I could think of off the top of my head, it would really start to give that space where I think we got the bars. We had 18 bars. We have a full range of bars from the Brick Alley all the way to Cooperage, all the way to Ashford. We got in the Bourbon House of Commons. We got plenty of bars. It's great. I think 10 years ago we had 3. So that's great. You can have any experience of drinking that you can have now. We've got Buffalo Trace, we got Castle and Key, we got West 6 Farm. So we got venues for people to go to and hang out. We've got the Delegate, we got Capitol Plaza Hotel. They're looking at building a convention hotel. So we've got the downtown hotels, we've got the bed and breakfast, we got the Airbnb. So we're getting the mix of all that. But what we're truly missing and what I'm working on, and I would like anybody's help on this, is we need a few more restaurants. We've already got roughly 3 4-star restaurants that I call them, but we definitely need a takeout restaurant where you can grab and go, downtown, like a deli or Pizza by the Slice or something where you can just roll in, grab it any time of day, it stays open late. So when you have 5,000 people come down for the concert, people can just roll in and grab food. So for a while I was trying to talk to Goodfellas Pizza, something like that. I think we need a regional name, like a Parlor Pizza, Goodfellas Pizza. I love Buddy's Pizza, but we need diversity in everything that we do. And also we need fast, basically. Somebody, because when I see those 10 bourbon bros walking around, they need to have a drink in one hand because now we have the drinking district, and then you have slice of pizza in the other, or hoggies. They need to have their hands full. And right now their hands are empty, and they're like, where do I eat?
Right.
And at midnight and 11 o'clock when I go walking, because that's where I get time when the kids are bed, I run into... So today's spotlight, I'd like to spotlight the Just Say Yes program. It is a program out of the Franklin County Health Department that works with middle schoolers all through the county, providing the Just Say Yes card. The card has a few $100s for the year that middle schoolers can use to do activities like Broadway play, dance academy, martial arts in town, to be able to do things after school to find their passions, help them get engaged, and basically become fuller, better human beings. Now back to the interview. People, and they look at me and go, what is there to do? What do we do? And I'm like, well, you could kind of go down there, but there's no food there. Or you could go there and there's no food there. Oh, you have to leave the bowl to get food. We need something, one or two restaurants downtown that can hit that market of the munchie market, of the quick market that is open long hours up to midnight and stuff. You know, the Brick Alley, I think they do a little bit of food. The Irish uh, pub does, Mortimer does some food. So I just think we need a little bit more to make that work. But that's pretty much what we're missing. A few of those buildings get activated, maybe a dance club or a nightclub or something downtown, you know, a music venue, that kind of thing. It's consistent,
Yeah.
you know, and then a couple more restaurants. And then I think things are just going to, and then it's just housing, long-term housing. We need housing after that, you know, because we got the hotels for the tourists. We got the bars for the tourists. Add a little more food for the tourists and for people who live here. And then it's all long-term housing all day long. Because we've got those developable acres by Capitol Plaza. We need to show those developers the demand for the amount of commercial and residential spaces to build. You know, is it a 3-story? Is it one commercial, 2 stories of residential? Is it 3 stories, 4 stories? I don't know. But if we show the demand, they'll build it because they're for profits. You know?
Right.
They'll build it to the demand. We just need to show them the demand. And that's why this year, next year, I think are going to be pivotal years for people really getting out, really coming downtown, really singing its praises so that we can show the city and we can show these developers how much we need growth.
I agree. Because I think about going back to North Carolina. I used to live in Winston-Salem. This place kind of reminds me of Winston-Salem a little bit too. I don't know if you've ever been.
I've been there once or twice.
But yeah, so long story short, when I moved there to Winston-Salem in 2013, downtown was empty, right? But by the time I moved to Kentucky in 2020, it was booming.
Yeah.
And I kind of see that pace happening here in Frankfort. Because when I moved here in August of 2021, there wasn't much development happening.
Yeah.
But now you see the collaboration. Now you see, like you were mentioning before, of the developers and investors trying to see opportunity. You know, opportunity in bringing change to Frankfort and the collaboration. But I would just say that you see that transition happening slowly, but for surely.
Well, and we have a perfect storm because we, like I said, bedroom communities, Lexington, Louisville, already having 4,500 families wanting to live here that can't find a place here. So we have that demand already built in. And on top of that, let me just run some numbers for you, right? So 5-10 years ago when I started working with bourbon and stuff like that, there was only about 150 to 200,000 people coming to Buffalo Trace every year. And once again, I'm just throwing rough numbers around. Last year, I think, was 600,000, right? And they're trying to get to 1 million. And I don't think they're going to be too far away. You know, a couple years, they'll probably be up close to 1 million. So, some fun number, right? Venice, Italy, which we know is a pretty hot tourist spot, only had 5.5 million visitors in 2012, and that was the highest level of visitors they ever had. 5.5 million.
5.5.
So think about how many restaurants are in Venice, Italy. Think about how many hotels are in Venice, Italy. Think about the footprint of Venice, Italy. Not too dissimilar to Frankfurt. When just general geography and size, it's very walkable. And think that we have 1/10 of the people going to Venice on our doorstep. So think of everything that Venice could build with 10 times the amount of people we have. I'll take 1/10 of Venice.
I sure would too.
No problem at all, man. So the demand is there. The growth is there. I've been working with tourism for years, and we're just like, look, we don't need 100% of people go to Buffalo Trace to come down to Frankfurt. Give us 20%, 30%. Right. We could transform this whole community and transform it in a good, sustainable way, not just sort of, gentrified. Like, build good restaurants, build good bars, build good housing that people in Frankfurt can live in too. It's not just for the tourists. So I think we can have a perfect balance of tourism and long-term residents, because tourists only come about 9 months a year.
Right.
And so this needs to be a sustainable economy that when the tourists leave, we still get to enjoy ourselves. All of us have been to the beaches. All of us have been to the islands where, they have the tourists in the summer and then they kind of shut down for the rest of the year. Frankfurt has a strength with the legislature and the state and just a natural community and economy that with that tourist on top, it just allows us to have the best of all worlds. And we're still centrally connected to everything. So if there's a restaurant in town that doesn't quite fit you, just pop over to Louisville, pop over to Lexington. But I would like to ask people watching this, just go down one night on a Friday, Saturday night when it warms up a little bit in a couple weeks and just If you haven't been downtown in a while, go check it out because I think you will be blown away. Park the car, walk around, see the stuff, see all the crowds that are in the bars and stuff, having a great time. I take a few people down who I haven't been downtown in a year or so, and they come down and they're just like, oh, what is happening? It rivals Lexington and Louisville because Lexington and Louisville isn't one omnibus thing. It is little neighborhoods that people will go to.
Yeah.
But there, they have to jump from one to the other. But here, you just park and enjoy the whole neighborhood.
I tell you though too, I think about there are some other things that make downtown Frankfort unique. For instance, like the library. I know that they brought the Ashbrook Hotel, which brings a nice touch and element. But I would like to see more localized restaurants. I mean, which are there, but I want to see them do it well.
Yeah.
Like provide that customer service, provide the ambiance, that eclectic approach. For instance, like one of my spots that I really love going to that makes me feel like I'm in a different space is the Bourbon Library.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever been?
Oh, heck yeah, man.
Yeah.
Well, and I'll say this. For a long time, Broadway was driving downtown, but the challenge that Broadway had, it had a great collection of the coffee tree and everything, and it was really great for what it was doing. The challenge that was inherent in that was it was only half a block. It was only the one side of the street, because you had the other was El Capital, which is an amazing property and backyard to many of us downtown that we go hang out in and have picnics in. But I really think that the center of gravity in the last 5 years has shifted over to Main Street in that corner, St. Clair and Main, because you've got Wicked Whisk, which is killing it.
They are.
I go in there and talk to them, how you doing? They're like, oh, we're hanging on, but we just slinging this stuff as fast as we can, and they're killing it. I've talked to them about their numbers, and they said they're doing like 300-400% more than they expected right out of the backs, and they were staying open, and sometimes hours later because people just kept coming in. Hoggy's had the same exact story when they opened up downtown. Same thing. Bourbon Library, same thing. But the cool thing about those three businesses, which are those three corners, is all of them looked at Frankfort and said, we are going to make a locally run business whose branding and look feel like a national business, right? Hoggy's, the branding, the playfulness, the colors, she really started that trend downtown of like, if you're going to put a new business downtown, it can't just be white bread, like Wonder Bread and tuna sandwich. It's got to be something unique.
Yeah.
It's got to be something that people see and get excited about. And it's got to stand toe to toe with any regional or national chains in its field, like a Grader's or something like that. And she got that. And now she's franchising out from Frankfort. She's opened one in Georgetown, and she's going further. So I love the idea that Frankfort could become a petri dish for franchises spinning out regionally from here, because the people are business people,
right?
And they're doing the branding right, and they're doing the marketing right, and that Frankfort's showing up. It's awesome. Well, she said that she has people driving in from Lawrenceburg. She has people driving from Shelbyville. She has people driving from Georgetown for her ice cream. That's an amazing story for Frankfort.
It is. I would just like to see that set. You're right, though. They did kind of set the tone for...
But all three of those businesses, they all just... Ben Harden just killed it with the Bourbon Library, with the huge chandelier and all. And you go in there and you're like, I could be in Newly right now. I could be in Chicago right now. But you're in downtown Frankfort. It's great.
Yeah. So, tell me this. What's the most unexpected partnership or investor story that became a game changer for you?
Well, let me just tell this story because it's a fun story. And I think it captures a lot of what we're dealing with, right? So with the pandemic and everything, time kind of blurs for me and my kids growing up. But I'd say 8 years ago, 7-8 years ago, my brother was in Louisville. He met a guy who knew Ted at Goodwood in Nulu really well. And we were trying, I had this idea of, Asheville, and I was like, we need 5 breweries, so I need to start going to recruit breweries, right? So my brother said, yeah, we can go sit down with Ted and we can chat with him over in Nulu. So I drove up there and we went down to Nulu and sat down with Ted. And at that point, I think there was only one Goodwood, right? And it was that OG one in Nulu. And so we sat down with Ted and he gave us a tour and he talked about all the things and all the stuff he was really excited about. And after about 45 minutes, I looked at Ted and I said, so Ted, do you have any plans to expand? And he said, oh, yeah. We're going to move to Shelbyville. And I looked at him and I said, how about you come to Frankfort? And he laughed so hard and said, "Why the f would I come to Frankfurt? That makes no sense." And I said, "Okay, Ted, do me a favor. Come to Frankfurt. We'll grab lunch, and I'll walk you around. There's 3 different buildings that I think you would find really interesting that are vacant. They need and I think one of these buildings would really charm you." So he came down. I walked him around. He had that like gobstop, his mouth hanging open. What the heck? No, I had no clue Frankfurt was like this. And I left him shaking hands with my brother-in-law, Joe Barry, in the Marina building. And he was like, "The space is amazing. I want the space." Right as I was walking out, I turned to Ted and said, "Oh, Ted, by the way, you should put a restaurant in here." And he said, No, we don't do restaurants." And I said, "I know you don't normally do restaurants, but if you do restaurants, all the bourbon tours coming need a place to eat. They will come here." So he said, "Okay, I'll think about it." So anyhow, opened up maybe 6, 7 months later, and they had a restaurant in it, and that restaurant kills it. It is the number one, what I've heard, number one grocer of all the Goodwoods in the whole region is Frankfurt.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And he has gone back, and every new Goodwood has a restaurant at the Lexington one, because he realized their beer with the food becomes a destination. It's not we go drink for a while and then we have to go eat. You can stay for 3 or 4 hours and have a great time. Mm-hmm. And then with our Goodwood, I like to say, with that river, it's the best view in town. You go out on that deck and you're seeing the 2 bridges and you're seeing the river. It's Frankfurt in a nutshell. And I've seen a lot of happy faces in Goodwood, a lot of people having a great time there, and it just warms my heart a little bit to know that, I drove to Louisville one night with this crazy idea, and just put our best foot forward. But that, I didn't have a title. I didn't get asked to do that. I wasn't an economic development director. I had an idea to try to bring a brewery to town. I saw this opportunity, and I just politely went and asked if they'd want to come down. I think it was $10 lunch, and we got Goodwood here. And the thing, though, is everybody in this community who loves Frankfurt, we all are connected throughout Kentucky. Mm-hmm. I would like everybody listening to this or watching this, think about who you know who own businesses or franchises. Is it your cousin? Is it your uncle? Maybe they're in some type of business. Maybe they would like to come to Frankfurt. Invite them to Frankfurt. Take them out for a night. Take them out to dinner at Goodwood or the Delegate. Show them Frankfurt and then sing its praises. And we could see Frankfurt transform into the community that we want. But I think it's all of us just realizing that we all have a part to play. And no one asked me to do it. I just thought this would be cool. And my brother-in-law happened to own a cool building. I showed him 2 others, and he chose the one my brother-in-law owned, and the rest is history.
Good deal. So how do you see the bourbon industry? Because I do think, right, as you talked about Buffalo Trace earlier and how they bring, in the past year, almost 600,000 people. How do you see the bourbon industry shaping Frankfurt's economy beyond tourism?
Well, obviously, there's the jobs associated with the bourbon industry. Good high-paying jobs. I know KSU has started a distillery program to start training up. I mean, for a long time, the bourbon industry was just growing, and the new tariffs have kind of caused a little hitch in that. But I think bourbon is like Scotch. Scotch has been around for 150 plus years. I don't know, but it's not going anywhere. Right. It has a market niche. There are people who drink it. I think bourbon is here to stay as a global phenomenon. I think we're just having a little hitch right now in our step. But in a way, I'm going to say this. And maybe there's people from the bourbon industry who are freaking out about this, but this is my perspective. I like that we're starting to try to sell bourbon more locally again, because I think we've all experienced, who like bourbon, that you hear about these stories in Texas, people getting Weller 12 and it's on every shelf, and we're like, there's none of it here, And we actually exported bourbon so hard that the people who love it the most here in Kentucky had a hard time getting a hold of it. And I love this new thing the Buffalo Trace is doing. I mean, thank God. Where, I don't know if you guys know, right now, I think it's still, they had that 9-month embargo, that 90-day embargo, right? Where you could go in and buy a Blanton's, you could go in and buy a Special Reserve Weller, but then you can only buy one every 90 days. Well, over Christmas, they released that. So you could go in every single day and buy it. And then they added Weller 107 on the shelf twice a week.
Nice.
And I was telling people about it, and they were freaking out. This is, to me, Weller 107 is in the top 5 best bourbons ever created, and it just flavor profile and everything. It's just amazing. It's an incredible bourbon. And the idea that consistently, twice a week, people living in Frankfort and nearby could roll down there, stand patiently in line, chat with your neighbors, chat with people who are excited about bourbon, and about an hour later you have a bottle of 107 for retail rate. It's awesome. So I really commend anybody at Buffalo Trace who came up with that idea of, put it back in the community, and I would love them to continue to do that because it really becomes a major draw for people celebrating Buffalo Trace and going to Buffalo Trace as opposed to having it just sent out all over the world and we're just watching it go. Now, I love bourbon to thrive and grow however it can, but I do love the idea of us locally, like you have to come to the distillery to get some of the best stuff. I think that's a genius move.
I think so
it
too. It
benefits Frankfort tangentially, because that many more people. Hey, I'm going to go get my 107 coming in from Lexington. Hey, while I'm in town, I'll go grab lunch. Hey, I'll go check this out. It's a good thing. So despite all the chaos at the global level and national level right now, I think this is an opportunity for the bourbon industry to reset a little bit, lean back into the locals who made it the spirit of the world, and then potentially launch itself again off of that solid foundation. So fingers crossed.
Yeah. I tell you, like every time I go back home and my family members know that I'm coming, they always request Buffalo Trace.
Yeah.
Elmer T. Lee. Which I've never gotten my hands on that.
Yeah, but like I said, if they dropping Blanton's already, they're dropping 107. I heard they're going to maybe switch around to some other Wellers like Weller 12 and stuff. We'll see, but start throwing Elmer T. Lee. I know this gets real smaller casks and stuff like that, but if you start throwing that stuff out every so often, you start having happy raffles at Buffalo. Like you're going to make Buffalo Trace the center of the universe, and it already is. But you can only go there to get some of this stuff, and you can get it reliably. They're gonna, the one I'm working with right now, it's going to sound a little crazy to you, but I'm pretty excited about it, and I got some inroads on it. Last year, I did some traveling, and I went up to Chicago with a friend in the summer, and I'd been studying Chicago for about 2 years because I hadn't been able to get away to go there, so I'd never really been there, and I love cities, and I love architecture, so I was just researching it, and I came across a thing that is a Roman bathhouse. Literally.
Wow.
Yeah. They started it in Spain, where it was truly a Roman ruins of a bathhouse, and they rebuilt it, and suddenly everyone's like, I love this experience of what the Romans experienced 2,000 years ago. And they went, we got something here. So from Sevilla, Spain, they built one in Barcelona, they built one in Paris, they built one in Helsinki, they built one in London, built two in New York, built one in Philadelphia, and built one in Chicago. So when I was in Chicago, I was up there with a friend for his birthday, and I was like, this is going to sound a little weird, but can I take you to a bathhouse for your birthday? And he's like, okay, man, let's do it. And we proceeded over the next 2 hours to have one of the coolest experiences ever. I mean, you descend into this basement, rebuilt Roman bathhouse. It has like 10 hot baths, 3 cold plunges, 2 scented saunas. It's all like candle lit. You feel like you've stepped 2,000 years back in time. And the Romans knew what they were doing. That is legit. Every pool had its own kind of thing going on, and a hot waterfall and a courtyard space. It was amazing. And so ever since then, I've had the bug. I'm like, how can I get something like that to come to Frankfort? Because if you think about it, for every 600,000 bourbon enthusiasts who come to Buffalo Trace, there's a good 100,000, 150,000 wives who are like, I don't like bourbon. I'm going to go find the wine bar. Or I'm going to go find something to do while you do that. Go have fun. You put in a day spa in Frankfort that is truly unique and of that caliber, those wives, I know exactly where I'm going. I'm going to go over to this Roman bathhouse and hang out and get a facial and a massage and all that kind of stuff. Currently, you got to go to Lexington. Currently, you got to go to Louisville. And when you go to those places, look, I'm always down for massage. I'm always down for that kind of stuff. It's always just so kind of niche, But when I went to this Roman bathhouse, it was just people relaxing, unwinding, and enjoying themselves. And in my mind, if you do it right, you could have a membership model, and I helped start the Bourbon Society, so we had a membership model. You have a membership model where for a certain price, everyone in Frankfort who wants could join to go there anytime they want outside of certain tourist hours, so that 3 months of the year we have no tourists, we all get to hang out at the Roman bathhouse, right? And then during the day when the tourists peak and in the night and stuff, we go hang out at the Roman bathhouse. It's just being time we want. But then during peak tourist hours, it kind of shuts down for members, and it just makes its profit on those tourists coming into town. So that's a perfect, anything I do, I want to make sure that the locals are getting the benefit from it and the tourists are getting the benefit from it. But that way we can have the best of both worlds, because the last thing you want to have is a day spa that's super expensive and super amazing. Everyone wants to go there, and it's priced out. Everybody in Frankfurt goes once a year for Valentine's Day. Like, we need something that the locals can enjoy, and something that the tourists come in and go, whoa, and then that's where they really make their profit and make it work. So I found a couple basements in Frankfurt. They're few and far between that don't flood, that are tall enough, that are finished enough that would work for something like that. I got my eye on a few, but would love to do. That's my boldest idea right now, because there's a spa that opened up for members up in Lexington, Via on Vine, and I was one of the first members back last June. When they told me what they're doing, I was like, I'm writing a check, just tell me how much, I'm in. But they have this day spa up there, and it's a pretty small footprint, and I go up twice a week, and I invite colleagues and friends, and there's a hot tub overlooking the 8th story lookout over UK, and there's a steam room and everything you need, but it's a pretty small footprint. And I'm like, yeah, this is this feeling. You go there, you relax, you chill out, you laugh, you hang out with people. It's not a place where you just feel like you're just moving down an assembly line. You're going and just at your own pace experiencing something. I think we get something like that in Frankfurt. We become a serious destination from anything within 250 miles, because people go to, Indiana to go to, the springs there.
Is there like a salt spring or something up there?
I'm trying to remember, French Lick.
Okay.
They go to French Lick, and you can't even get in the spring there. It's all these sort of, we did pipe it in from this, but there's no like hot springs there, and there's no hot tubs. Like, we do that right, we will be a destination within 250 miles for people. And they'll be like, oh my God, I went to Frankfurt, I had bourbon, I had a wonderful food, I had a wonderful night, walked around town, and oh my God, I went to this place that just blew my mind, because it was just so incredible, So that's my probably boldest idea right now. And it would definitely take a little bit of a culture change, but up in Lexington, I've been the last few months bringing people up there, and they're like, I've never been to a sauna before, and they leave there going, oh my God, forget golf, I'm bringing all my business clients here,
Mm-hmm.
So it's a bold idea, but I think it's a fun one.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate the conversation with you, because I do think that Frankfurt has to look at how to be forward thinking, and I think you bring that A game to
Thanks,
it.
man.
So I appreciate you coming through,
It's my pleasure.
and I look forward to more conversations in the future too.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah. But until next time, talk to you soon.
Okay. Thank you very much.